Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Hulk, starring Eric Bana, Jennifer Connelly, Nick Nolte, Sam Elliott, and Josh Lucas, and directed by Ang Lee. Now, before I get into this movie, and I talked a little bit about this with Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, I wanted this movie to succeed, and I remember seeing it in theaters, and I loved the hell out of it. And what did I think about it now? Well, let's get into it, shall we? I liked what they did with the Marvel logo. All green for the Hulk. I like that. And I also really like what they did with the opening credits. And I also like the Danny Elfman score, which I got the impression that Elfman wasn't really wanted. And, by the movie's director, Ang Lee, because I like the editing style. And with all the split screens, it felt very comic book in my mind. Just a reminder, after Spider-Man came out in 2002, of course, some people, when they saw the trailer, they thought this could be the next Spider-Man, or the CGI on the Hulk is absolutely horrible. But keep in mind, and it wasn't finished yet, if you're thinking this is going to be the next Spider-Man, you are going to be disappointed by the end of the movie. Because the movie presented to us, and the story of the Hulk is heavier in this movie than the things happening in Spider-Man. My point is, if you're expecting the next Spider-Man out of this movie, you'll be let down. And I almost kind of did, but then I heard different things. So, we'll get into it. Eric Bana as Bruce Krenzler / Banner. My problem with him is he's too tall, buff, stale with his American accent. And yeah, I don't know, he doesn't look the part, to be honest with you. But Jennifer Connelly, on the other hand, I have a question about her. Didn't she play this role and won the Oscar for A Beautiful Mind about a couple of years beforehand? Because it's almost the same character. Josh Lucas as Glenn Talbot, who was in the comic books, and I understand why he's here for comic book reasons, but here he's a rough version of Matthew McConaughey's brother, in my opinion, if Matthew McConaughey did have a brother. Sam Elliott as General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. I like his facial expressions, and he's a good Thunderbolt Ross, unlike William Hurt when we get to the Incredible Hulk for the Avengers, who takes Bruce's father away as a younger man. And this was the very opening sequence, too. Nick Nolte is one of the main actors I have a real problem with, especially at the end of the film, and I really don't like his portrayal of David Banner here whatsoever. But as for the ending scene, we'll get there when we get there. I love the shot when Bruce exposes himself to the gamma radiation and there's a mushroom cloud that sounds very haunting. That was a great moment from a melodramatic action movie. When Bruce becomes the Hulk for the first time and tears up the lab, he works in, and suddenly he sees David hiding in the janitor's closet. First of all, how stupid are you to go near a giant green monster? Second of all, the Hulk CGI took a while to grow on me in the movie, and he looked like a little cartoony. To a point, it looked a little scribbled as an animation CGI creation. David releases the Hulk dogs to go after Betty Ross, played by Jennifer Connelly, and after she visits him from his place. And Talbot, on the other hand, intervenes when Bruce becomes the Hulk to beat up Talbot, and the Hulk fights the Hulk dogs in a very dark and hard to see the CGI sequence. And that fight between the Hulk and the Hulk dogs had some slapstick in that scene, especially when he slaps the French poodle and punches the leg of another dog. I forget what kind it is. Betty called her father to take Bruce to the military base after the events of the Hulk dogs. And Betty helps Bruce remember his memory of his childhood, which moves the movie on pretty good, I feel like. David turns into something I'm not sure what the hell that was. He can transform or turn into something like Electricity Man or Cloud Man or Rock Man, but I'll get there when I get there at the end. The Hulk versus Talbot and the military people was an easy fight for the Hulk to smash them and their tanks, but when Talbot hits the Hulk with a missile and bounces off of him, of the Hulk, let me say, and Talbot dies from there, like, what an idiot. But it was still a funny sequence. But I still enjoyed the fight between the Hulk and the military in my mind. In case if anybody thought if it was Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk, but this time, that's not true. I'll give you a hint on who it is. It's the movie's director, Ang Lee. And from the behind the scenes, it looks hysterical to see Ang Lee portray the Hulk in this movie. It was a little tedious to see the Hulk biting off a missile and spits it out at the helicopter and it goes down. Just terrible. I didn't like that effect. The Hulk fights with the military at the Golden Gate Bridge and he saves the plane from hitting the bridge, and the Hulk flies with the pilot almost in space, and he dreams of puny Bruce Banner as he shaves his face, and one of the two lines of the Hulk says, "Puny human," without any struggle, and I like the way how he sounds in this movie when he talks. This is a kind of a comic book story of Beauty and the Beast, where the Beast is Frankenstein and Betty is Belle, and I like that about this movie. Bruce meets with David and he's chained up, and this is the scene where I had a most problem with Nick Nolte. Goes terrible acting to over-the-top acting as he screams like he is trying to get an Oscar for some reason for that scene alone, because it looks like a Razzie Award to me in my mind. The Hulk fights David, or this absorbing man is, and I want to just put it there. This guy is that the Hulk's fighting. It's hard to explain him, to be honest. I don't know what the hell he's called in any ways. But that was a pretty good fight between father and son, and the second line the Hulk says as he gives up the fight and says, "Take it all." And I don't know what was happening as that moment, and the mushroom cloud grows, and General Ross blows up the cloud and regrets killing the Hulk, and Bruce, in that moment, did make me sad when the Hulk dies, but Bruce is out there somewhere in Brazil. The movie ends with Bruce giving medicine to the children of Brazil, and two men piss him off, and he's about to turn into the Hulk once more. Was a good but weird way to end the movie in my mind, and wait till we get to the Incredible Hulk when we start with the Avengers series, because first of all, he's set in Brazil, and second of all, is it kind of a sequel to The Incredible Hulk? I'll get there when I get there. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 6.9 out of 10. It's not as bad as people say it is years later, but it's not Spider-Man whatsoever. But is it as good as Spider-Man? I would say no, because this has good moments, but by all means, give this another try. It's not as bad as people say it is. And that's my problem with over the years with people saying this was a bad movie. The truth is it's not. It's like that Fantastic Four remake, and I'll talk about that when I get to the end of that series. It's just too much. Like it's devastating to me that they didn't like this or that remake of Fantastic Four. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And by that remake, I'm talking about the one that came out 2 years ago. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next week I will go to the Fantastic Four. But I'm going Roger Corman first. And until next time, puny human.